Ben Simmons didn't play a single game this year, and that includes the postseason. There were rumors that he wanted to come in and return this series, and then ended up calling it back because he felt that he had too much going on mentally or that he wasn't able to focus. And that narrative, a lot of people were giving him a hard time for. I myself included, Kyle as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode with the agenda, Jay Williams had a different spin on it. Jay Williams spoke with someone, had a conversation about somebody in Ben's camp or close to him, in my opinion, and he is immediately coming to the defense of Ben Simmons. He is coming to the defense for his mental health, that we need to apologize and that we really need to go out there and say, we were wrong. He owned up and said it on TikTok and said, that he mishandled the situation. He didn't really understand what was going on. And now his tune has changed. Again, Kyle and I do not have the details. We do not have the information as to who he spoke to and with what context. But when you have a straightforward individual, analyst, caster like Jay Williams, who played in the league, who was a collegiate star, come out and apologize basically for the things he's been saying, that leads me to believe that there is something more going on behind the scenes with Ben Simmons for him to not be on the basketball court. Now, Kyle, I'm just going to direct this towards you. With everything circling Ben Simmons between this season and the offseason coming up quickly, what are your thoughts on what's going on with Ben Simmons specifically?
Well, I'm going to tackle this in two separate parts. The first part is going to be the basketball part. I thought when Ben Simmons came into the fold with the Brooklyn Nets, I thought that he would be a viable piece for them moving forward. Not specifically because of his offensive game, because let's just face it, his offensive capabilities are relatively limited because he's not that good of a jump shooter. Now, he's great at driving to the lane and being able to make plays that way, being able to facilitate the basketball. Like, those are some good aspects when it comes to Ben Simmons' game. Shooting is not his forte, and shooting free throws is definitely not a strong suit of his. And on the defensive side of the ball, that's where I actually thought his biggest impact would come with Brooklyn. Because look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is what, 6'8, 6'9, 6'10? This is a big dude as far as just his overall size goes. And I thought that when Brooklyn was going up against Boston in the first round of the playoffs, even though that he missed the first two games, with the rumors circulating that he could have played in games 3 or 4, I thought that would have been a solid advantage for Brooklyn to work with, because at least then, when you have a big player like Ben Simmons as far as his size goes, that's decent for their defensive side, their defensive presence, just because he could be able to match up against Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum a lot more equally than someone like Kyrie getting matched up on a switch with either Jason or Jaylen, or Kevin Durant getting matched up on Jaylen or Jason. It's just overall, Ben Simmons is a solid defensive player. I mean, he was in the defensive player of the year category, not this past season, but last year. And it was because he was able to force turnovers and just eat rebounds. And I think overall, I think that Ben Simmons is a decent player in some regards, and then in some regards he's mediocre to subpar. So I mean, overall, Ben he's an okay player at best, just because I have to factor in the fact that he can't really shoot that well. Now let me transition into this mental health part, because that seems to be the biggest piece when it comes to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has faced a lot of criticism, and he's faced a lot of backlash based on what he's done on the court. And a lot of it is lingering from last year when he was with the Philadelphia 76ers. And it was because there were multiple games where Ben Simmons was scoring in single-digit point totals. And that was despite the fact that Ben's getting paid essentially top dollar to be one of the best players, not only with Philly, but in the league to a larger extent. And when it comes to the situation with Brooklyn, even though that he wouldn't necessarily be the best player that Brooklyn has, he'd be a viable piece moving forward. I don't know what Ben Simmons is experiencing outside of basketball. But if I have to say it from what I've seen in the reports, as far as what Jay Williams said on his TikTok about something that's going on behind the scenes with Ben Simmons, him not playing in the games with Brooklyn in the playoffs, this past playoff series. If it's not right for Ben Simmons, I think it's time for him to step away from the game for a little bit. I'm not saying like as a permanent move, but I think it's time for him to step away and figure out what's going on and figure out these issues that seem to be plaguing him outside of basketball, because I just don't think that his head's in the right space. And it may be because of what he's faced as far as the backlash and the criticism that he's been dealing with the last year. I don't tend to think that that is the primary factor. I think this may be something within his family. I'm not going to speculate, but to me, if there is that big of an issue where you don't feel like you're mentally there to be able to go out and play basketball with the Nets, I would assume that there is something going on with him personally within his family. Because to me, that there's certain levels of there's a certain place in time where you have to put things aside to focus on what's most important. And if that's a family situation, then Ben needs to pay all the time and attention to that. Now, if it's something with him personally where he can't handle the stress that comes with being an NBA player and all the criticism that you face as an NBA player, that's entirely different. And I want to be very careful how I phrase this. When being an NBA player, I think it just comes with the territory that you're going to face criticism. You're going to face backlash from the fans constantly. Now, has Ben gotten an excessive amount of criticism? Yes. Has it been fair? In some cases, yes, if it's just specifically relating to his skills as a basketball player. But when it comes to attacks on his personal character, that's where I draw the line. And to me, as a basketball player, some of the tendencies that he has shown are rather, it shows a little bit of weakness, because when you're not there to be able to be there for your teammates and your teammates are expecting you to show up and be a viable piece moving forward, it's not a good reflection on you. And I could speak to that, granted, I'm not a professional athlete, but I played sports when I was younger. And no matter what sort of things that I was dealing with outside of sports, the field would actually be my safe haven. Like, I would go there and essentially whatever sort of worries that I had on, whether it was a basketball court, whether it was a football field, a baseball field, that would essentially be like my sanctuary. I would actually feel pretty comfortable despite whatever sort of issues that I was dealing with outside of whatever sport I was playing with at the time. But obviously, that is not the situation that is going on with Ben Simmons. So if it's impacting him so much where he can't even be there on the court, I would tend to think that it's rather serious. Now, this could be a situation where this lingering back issue could have been an issue to the point where he just felt like he just wasn't ready to play and get over the hump of dealing with this back issue. So there's multiple ways to look at this. When it comes to Ben Simmons, there's definitely a target on his back. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's just not that good of an offensive player. He just doesn't score that much. But, when it comes to these situations where the Nets are expecting Ben to be a somewhat viable piece, I imagine that his teammates were probably thinking something along the lines of that, and he's not there on the court helping them out. It's a tough look. I understand that Ben could be going through some things. I fully understand that. But if you can't compartmentalize your mental issues and put them to the side to go out there and do your job. Ben Simmons is a basketball player. His job is to go out there and play basketball. But if it's to the point where he cannot go out there and do his job, the best thing for him to do at this current moment in time is to step away from the game, fix whatever's going on in his life, and then when he's ready, come back into the fold. It's just, he has to work through whatever's going on, and hopefully he can find some peace associated with that, and return to the court. Whatever he's going through, I hope it works out in his favor. But I have to say, like, I understand he may be going through some things. His job is a basketball player. And if he's not there to provide that service, it's time for him to step away from the game for a little bit. And when he's ready, come back. That's just how I see it.
So, I mean, for me specifically, I'm not going to spend too much time on it personally because I don't really feel comfortable speaking on it just because someone that goes through their own form of mental health, um, I myself actively go to therapy for my own reasons, not to get personal with anybody, but for the sheer fact of I understand what it's like for a mental block to affect your life on such a scale to where you feel like personally the world has basically come to an end. Like things are kind of going on excessively in your mind and in your life to where you feel that you cannot move forward with what it is that you need to do with your life, your job, your relationships, anything. So I get that. I cannot put myself in his shoes because I am not Ben Simmons. I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not a famous individual. I'm not a professional athlete. Any of the things that I know could be a number of stressful factors for someone to have uh, any mental health setbacks, whether that be the mental block that he articulated to not being to being the reason why he didn't play in Game 4. Whatever Jay Williams was alluding to, again, I'm not going to sit here and speak on something I am completely unaware of or not informed on. And I'm just going to leave it in the sense of I will agree with Kyle to the extent of if he has something going on in his life that is going to deter him from focusing, he needs to step away, get his mind right for himself. Not for the millions of dollars that he'll be missing out on, not for the label that's going to be put on his name when he comes back and if he comes back, or God forbid he ends up coming back too early and he's not mentally there and then he has to leave again. We have no idea what's going to happen this offseason. We don't know if Brooklyn's going to stand behind him. We don't know if he's going to get traded again. We don't know if he's going to get cut. There's a lot of different open narratives that could happen with Ben Simmons' future. But overall, I am in full support of him stepping away so that he can better himself and be in a better position to contribute to a team actively as opposed to sitting on the sideline, being ready, being suited, or being dressed, and then practicing and then not playing, and then the narrative changing within a week span. It's a lot of stuff going on. It's not making him look good. It's not doing his reputation any justice as well. But overall, if Ben's got to step back, do what's best for you, big guy. I know I gave you a lot of shit when you were in Philly for the performance that you had last year and the comparisons between Giannis and whatnot. But if it truly, truly, truly is something with mental health, I really do wish the best for you. Again, one person to another, one human being that struggles with their own demons. I hope whatever's going on gets better for you. And like I said before, man, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell people how to feel with what they got going on in their own lives. Got to respect it and hope that he ends up okay.